What up, gamers? I forgot to wake up for this, but we're gonna watch it now, because, yeah. 45 minutes about, it looks like. I don't know if there's maybe an end screen, though. There's definitely, I had to skip the whole beginning here.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Good morning, good evening, good time zone to you all, and welcome to a beautifully balmy day here in beautiful Bellevue, Washington, here at Bungie HQ. Didn't realize it would be that alliterative. Welcome to our stream that's going to go ahead and showcase a little bit of what's to come in Act 2 of Episode Echoes. But very briefly, before I go ahead and kick things off, the eagle-eyed guardians among you have probably noticed a little QR code down here in this general direction. If you go ahead and give it a scan, our friends over at the Bungie Foundation are going to be running a 7th Column Chaos Tournament, and you have a chance to get involved, help them raise some funds, and do some good. So if you go ahead and do yourself a favor, give that a scan, learn a little bit more about what they got, maybe give them a follow on Twitter while you're out there. They've got a lot of cool information that's on the way. But speaking of cool information on the way, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Today, we have regularly scheduled to go ahead and tell you a little bit about the stuff that's going to be arriving with Act 2 of Episode Echoes. But worry not, as always, I'm joined by an all-star cast of guests here from the Bungie development team. I'll go ahead and dive right into it, starting with the individual right here to my left, the incomparable Allison Lures, narrative director here at Bungie. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing all right. Thank you for asking. No one ever asks me back.
More people should.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. For the uninitiated at home that may not have met you or just kind of meeting you for the first time outside of the Vidoc potentially, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do here at Bungie?
Yeah, my name is Allison Lures. I'm the narrative director for Destiny 2. It's my job to work with the team that creates our stories and characters. We're in charge of making you cry and feel things.
I have cried a lot.
We're in charge of making you cry and feel things.
My black and dead heart has gone ahead and had some feelings. So
happy to be of service.
We appreciate it. And of course, sitting right next to Allison is the one and only Mr. Ryan Harris, Senior Activities Designer here at Bungie. Ryan, welcome.
Hey.
For the folks that also may not have met you or have probably played your activities without realizing it, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here?
Yeah, so my name is Ryan Harris. I'm a Senior Activity Designer here at Bungie, and folks may know me from Season 20 Battlegrounds, 7th Inspire, and yeah, I work on the Vanguard seasonal team, making the activity content folks play day after day.
Excellent. I've spent a lot of time at Sabbath Inspire, so thank you for your hard work.
Welcome.
And of course, next to him, friend of the show. If you've tuned into our Into the Light streams, you've met him before a couple of times. The one and only senior design lead here at Bungie, the one and only Chris Proctor. Chris, welcome back.
Thanks, Andy. How are you today?
I am doing so good. Thank you. Everything's coming up Millhouse. This is going great. For the folks that may not have had a chance to tune into the previous streams, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do here at Bungie.
Yeah, folks might be familiar with my work on the weapons team. I was weapons feature lead for 4.5 years. I'm now the sandbox craft lead on Destiny, which means I help out the sandbox team with any issues they're facing and help uphold that critical sandbox quality bar.
Yeah, it's an exciting one to dive into, so thank you and yours for all of your hard work. Now, let's go ahead and get ready to go ahead and dive into some stuff about Act 2. But first things first, we've obviously been listening to the feedback of our fans, in particular, the kind of weekly rollout of all the different stuff that's happened through Episode 1. With Episode 2, you guys are looking to try something a little bit different, isn't that right?
That's right. Yeah, we've been listening to the fans and listening to feedback, and we agree it's time for a change. So we're going to do a trial of something new in Act 2. We're going to be dropping all 3 beats of the acts at once. So we'll be dropping all the 3 beats for Act 1 at the same time, all the 3 beats for Act 2 at the same time, all the same beats for Act 3. And the goal is to encourage players to play at their own pace.
I wish they'd do it for actual Act 2.
Get all of that content at once if that's what they're looking for, or to meter it out over whatever pace they want to play at.
Just release
but yeah, so we're going to give it a shot in Episode 2.
At least the story is.
Excellent, that's right, yeah.
See how it goes over.
Yes, definitely. And to that same end, when Episode 2, I did it too, rolls around, make sure and let us know what you guys think. But whether you're a Netflix-style binger like myself, or you want to go to the comic book store each week to go ahead and pick up the new issue, there's going to be a chance to dive in no matter how you want to.
However you want to experience it, it's up for you. But make sure to read it. More about it is going to be in the Twid this week.
Excellent. Okay. Make sure and tune in. We'll have plenty more information on the way. Let's go ahead and take a look at also what got us here today. So we're still in Episode 1, Echoes.
Yep.
Act 1 has kind of concluded its main story beats. For those at home that may not have had a chance to play through or may have some questions about the story, would you mind catching us up to what events got us here today?
Sure. We'll do the short version. Great news. The witness is dead. We did it.
We did it.
Yay!
Wow. Spoilers.
The episodes are all about the consequences of where we killed the witness
Yeah.
and how. So when we killed the witness, all of that darkness, all of that memory, all of that energy collided with the light of the traveler. And so all of the memories that were inside of the witness, which is not necessarily exclusively the precursor beings that are inside of it, collided with the light of the traveler and made matter out of those memories. We call those echoes. And one of them launched out towards Nessus. And so we followed it to try and investigate, see what this thing is. And when we got there, we managed to reunite with Failsafe, who you left. You abandoned her. She's okay
we
with
did.
it
Feel
because
personally
she's
responsible.
chill.
Okay.
Just
Or
so you know.
Failsafe,
Yeah.
man.
Thank you.
She's very happy to see us.
We're happy to
She
see her.
says
We're happy
you,
to
but
see
it was just
her.
Bungie that
so
did
we've
it.
been
Got him.
exploring through Nessus, and initially things are pretty fun. What a fun, cool, lighthearted adventure. Nothing bad's going to happen.
Of course not.
Of course not.
Failsafe's around.
And the act ends with getting a little tease of like, oh wait, this isn't going to be a strictly lighthearted adventure. Saint gets kidnapped, more than kidnapped, kind of body controlled away from the rest of the group. And as he's taken away, this being called the Conductor is interrogating him and demanding to kind of understand whether or not you are real, like whether Saint is the real Saint or not. It's unnerving and kind of weird, and the vibes are only going to get darker from there.
Even better. Given that Saint has a rich history with the Vex, I'm sure everything is just going to go nice and peachy keen.
Absolutely, yeah. Nothing bad. No, of course not.
And so now that we've washed away that veneer of everything's going to go great, Act 2 now is arriving as well. Now, there's plenty of stuff for folks to dive into, but as we go ahead and kick things off here with Act 2, can you give us a little bit of a tease of what we're going to be checking out?
Yeah, what Saint heard when he was being kind of controlled really got to his head. We are going to be watching him wrestle with some questions that he's never asked himself
Bro
before.
is losing it.
And as we are trying to understand more about this Conductor that he has encountered, we are also going to be going back and revisiting one of Destiny's most storied locations, very briefly.
So the lore hounds out there are going to have a chance to feast.
They're going to have a delicious time.
Excellent. Bye. You're welcome.
delicious
I don't know if
time.
this will warrant another 10
Bye,
hours,
if
but
you're
we'll leave that up
welcome.
to you.
I got you, Boo.
They called out
Okay.
Bife.
And now that gives us the structure for what we're about to dive into, but we have now the new activity that'll be arriving as well. We're going to go ahead. We have some gameplay here to go ahead and dive into with
there's a
the
new
Echo
activity.
Battlegrounds, the new 3-player activity. Ryan, do you mind kind of telling us a
Oh,
little bit
the new
about what we're going to be
Battlegrounds,
checking out here today?
Absolutely, yeah. So we'll be taking a look at one of the 3 battlegrounds
Dude, is
that
that a
players will
new
be
rocket
engaging with this
sidearm?
act.
Let's go.
So the first battleground here starts in the cistern of the
sick.
Wall of Flames on Nessus, of course, and players will be running through the Wall of Flames, checking out what's going on here as the Fallen have kind of like started hanging out and investigating the well for themselves.
Yeah.
So players really here like noticing that the radial area of this lake has been drained. A lot of the area is kind of like revamped and like regenerated
Whisper?
itself to something new. And players will be looking at the
Whisper
story of like where is
love?
this radial area going? Where is it flowing through? So for Battleground 1, you're kind of like finding out and like locating where all this radial area is going to.
Yeah.
Battleground 2, you're seeing the actual flow and direction of all the radial area to the center of Nessus. And Battleground 3, you're actually seeing like where it's
wow,
being
we're getting
directed
3
to.
Battlegrounds?
So it's
Okay.
really trying to tell that story about the journey to the center of Nessus.
Very exciting. Yeah. So they all kind of have a way of interconnecting with each other as well.
And I guess they usually do 3, don't they?
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. Obviously, the Vex have been our primary antagonist through this, but the entrance here is being guarded by a pretty heavy contingent of Fallen. Who are these Fallen and what are they trying to do here?
Yeah, I can give a relatively boring answer, but I believe Allison can give a much better one.
Thanks. Yeah, the Fallen are here because they're after the Echo too. We want to think of these Echoes as kind of an arms race.
Chasing them down.
In the
Okay.
absence of the witness, there's a giant power vacuum that has formed where there's no one in charge who's going to come out and take it on top.
Yeah.
So the Fallen are here. They're chasing down the Echo as well, and they're encountering the same thing that we are in that the Vex aren't really acting like the Vex normally do here.
Yeah.
We're seeing some Vex start to act less like a collective and more like individuals. There's one really fun lore tab where one of them waves at us.
Yeah.
So we're encountering mostly Vex, but yeah, also Fallen are here too.
It's cool to see the Vex undergo such a change. Like they've been more, I think you were saying like individualistic in kind of a weird way, which is like the one thing the Vex don't do. Yeah.
It's the one thing that they don't do, which is why it's super weird that they're doing it here. And in Act 2, we're going to be able to see a little bit more of why they're specifically doing that.
Very exciting. Awesome. Plenty to dive into. And also, with these battlegrounds as well, Ryan, I know we were talking a bit before the show, but it seems like the main goal here was just for you guys to push yourselves, to really push the boundaries of what battlegrounds have been. Can you tell us a little bit about what you were trying to accomplish with this new set of battlegrounds in Act 2?
Yeah, so for this set of battlegrounds, it's definitely our latest and greatest iteration of battlegrounds. As folks know, battlegrounds consist of 2 encounters and a final boss encounter. So throughout the years, we kind of iterated on what a battleground is and how closely it resembles a strike. And this set of battlegrounds, I really wanted to push it to be like, what is a battleground and what is a strike? I wanted to be almost one of the same. So with these battlegrounds and stuff, I wanted players to, well, of course, have enough enemies on screen to slay out at all times.
Yeah.
We're definitely pushing the combatant counts in these battlegrounds as high as possible, in some ranges of 40 enemies at a time on screen, which is quite a lot.
But plenty for us to go ahead and check out.
But that gives enough opportunity for everyone in the fire team to use all their abilities, use prismatic to the fullest extent, and always use their super on cooldown or prismatic on cooldown when the opportunity arises. I want players to feel like they can just do everything, and there's not just that one player soloing the entire encounter, so everyone is contributing to that
still gonna be
experience. Yeah, I can imagine too, even with the expanded sandbox that's been brought to us with the new abilities by way of prismatic, or even the new weapons, which we'll start to check out here in just a little bit. What were some additional ways? I can imagine it probably wasn't just even more, but you guys were saying you were trying to make some more of these mobs a bit more intense to go ahead and go up against as well.
Yeah. So with telling the story of the Vex are like evolving and changing, we've I went ahead and modified an existing wyvern. I'm so sorry.
So how dare you?
You'll engage with these wyverns in pairs, and they have a special new ability where they can teleport.
Fun.
Teleporting wyverns, bro.
It's kind of scary.
A real nothing personal kid behind you. Right?
No.
They certainly are an active threat in the battlefield, and I wanted players to really be on the lookout for them and engage with them and prioritize them as that priority target when they are seen.
And that's something that's been neat. Obviously, players will have a chance. The first 2 of these battlegrounds obviously arrive with the first week of Act 2, with the third one hitting on the second week. But it's not even necessarily, I think, something that was really cool is you were mentioning earlier that you wanted to make these closer to a strike, or kind of blur that line. The second battleground is kind of like an all-new experience in a lot of ways. It's not just going back to a part of the planet we've been to before with new foes, but it's a brand new experience. Can you tell us what it was like kind of putting that together and sort of creating this journey to the center of Nessus?
Yeah, so we really wanted to tell a story of that journey to the center of Nessus, and that requires new geo, new art, new environment. So everything after this encounter onwards is just all new geo and layout. And we really tried our best to carve out what that experience is, and that, as most folks know from battlegrounds, they usually run through a patrol and maybe a new boss space or just a new encounter space. These battlegrounds really push the boundaries of hey, this is all new. This is completely new, fresh. It's kind of like a strike. It is a strike, almost.
The bosses were part of that exercise too, though, I think. Like we were talking before, where it's not, just kind of taking characters that you've battled before and making them tougher, but it's a brand new encounter with new mechanics and new kind of ways to go ahead and push further into the boss fight. That's the most broad strokes way I can describe it, but obviously, as the man who designed it, can you tell us a little bit more about creating these new boss experiences as well for players during this act?
Yeah, so one thing back to what players know from battlegrounds is when someone plays a battleground, they come in groups of 3 or 4, players are I know what to expect from this boss encounter. It's usually the same but similar boss encounters.
Right.
But for these battlegrounds, they're all unique bosses. They're all different. They're all challenging in their own ways, and they're just barely and just different, very different from one another. So that was the experience we're trying to hit here. Is players, when they jump into a battleground, it's not going to be the same. It'll be different. The boss encounter will be different. We'll be trying to tell a story with the boss encounter that you're engaging with. Doling out immunity gates and engagements in that boss encounter in different ways, be it with just telling a story while you're engaging the boss, or a damage window, or just no damage immunities at all, where the player is just engaging with a boss that has the largest health pool I've placed on a boss ever.
Maybe. Yeah.
For now.
Plenty of chances to go ahead and test out those still hunt accuracy, or each individual's accuracy with still hunt, rather, I should say. I say that because I keep a shotgun on me for a very good reason. But no, there's obviously a ton of stuff to check out in that regard, but I think I'd be remiss if we didn't also talk a bit more kind of about what we're seeing on screen in some way. Is Chris, we've got some new weapons that are going to be arriving with this act as well. If you wouldn't mind, can you tell us a little bit more about kind of maybe even this one we're seeing here on screen? This is one of the new ones as well, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the Aberrant Action Solar Rocket-Assisted Frame Sidearm.
Or rocket sidearms. You love to hear it.
Yeah, the first solar rocket sidearm, and it's a banger.
Yeah.
The roll that we're showing here is heel clip incandescent, which is probably, it synergizes super well with solar subclass.
Yeah, here we
It's
go.
definitely the one that does that the best. Just to say it, the art for these weapons is awesome. Like the weapons art team knocked it out of the park. This one in particular has some nice touches
clip
when you aim down sights with it.
incandescent.
Like little,
That's
cool little animation
spicy.
there. It's pretty neat.
Looks really
It's gonna
cool.
be addictive, honestly. Got a very Vex Mythoclast feel to it, honestly.
There are some other like interesting perk combos on this as well. So I'm particularly fond of Pugilist and Demolitionist.
Yeah.
As you get kills so fast with these rocket sidearms that regenerating your ability energy as you're doing that keeps you armed to the teeth at all times.
Yeah, never hurts. In addition to that, we've also got a new arc heavy burst pulse rifle.
bro was floating
correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The Corasian arc heavy burst pulse rifle.
Yeah.
Another one in this seasonal set. And yeah, this is we introduced this subfamily with Final Shape. And
Weapon
this is
designs
the
are cool.
third one of these. The roll that we've got here, high impact reserve is left column, also always very good, and vault shot right column. That's pretty strong. I would also look at getting frenzy right column. Because high impact reserves is great, but doesn't give you any stats. So having frenzy gives you a bit of damage and those stats as well, and very high uptime. Really great.
Yeah, I can imagine too in the era where pulse rifles are living through their anti-barrier era as well. It's probably not too bad to have one with that many stacked perks on it. Frankly, like, I can see Volt Shot doing a lot of untold damage just behind enemy lines pretty rapidly with that guy.
It's pretty juiced in PvP as well. Definitely to pick up.
Ooh, good point. Yeah, Headseeker fans rejoice. Potentially. And then in addition to that, an old favorite is going to be making its return. Saint's tried and true favorite shotgun. Perfect Paradox is coming back as well from Season to Dawn.
Yeah, Perfect Paradox is back, along with a bunch of other Dawn weapons. This is the one we're dropping in this act. And yeah, all of the perks that you know and love from the original, plus a bunch of new ones, plus the new Origin trait, Cast No Shadows, which if you're doing a melee build, just synergizes really nicely with it. So, Threat Detector left column, and then Trench Barrel if you're just doing damage with weapon, or 1-2 punch if you're doing a melee build. Yeah, it's a ton of fun.
They're showing off weapons on like just dying in the background.
Yeah, we combination blow hunters are about to have a very good time. I can already tell, honestly, as if we weren't already. No, it's been great. So with some new additions to the weapon sandbox, there's also some new, a new row, pardon me, of perks unlocking on the seasonal artifact as well. Isn't that right?
Right. Yeah. So each act we're adding a new row. So this is 5 new artifact mods. And with these, we're really leaning into sniper rifles and solar damage. So we'll bring this up in a second.
So still hunt, it becomes more meta?
The fire team here obviously is a little bit of their hands full. And also, everyone in chat, please give a shout out to Peyton, Mitch, and Justin here, who are doing the proverbial heavy lifting, carrying us through this activity as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So anti-barrier sniper is coming back. Personal favorite. Love this artifact mod.
A lot of buzz about that, I think when everyone saw it on the on the new seasonal artifact.
Yep, it makes it really easy to deal with barrier champions, and like you can also go through phalanx shields, all sorts of shields. So it's very, very.
I was so bad for the Hive Knights that set up so defiant with their shield, and I'm like, I'm really sorry, but this is not going to go well for you.
Yeah, and then scavenger mods, so you can keep those special ammo sniper rifles fed. Moving on, incendiary rifle rounds. Yeah, so if you've got a solar sniper rifle, and I can think of a couple, we've seen Whisper of the Worm here, but there's also Still Hunt. This really juices those. You're scorching targets with
yes, because Still Hunt needed to be juiced even more.
Once you build up enough scorch stacks and you have that ignition, it will do increased damage in a higher radius. Super, super strong. And not only that, but we're adding this other artifact mod for sniper rifles, which increases damage with every precision hit. So if you're landing like crit after crit on a boss with Whisper or Still Hunt or your favorite legendary solar sniper rifle, you're going to be, the damage output is going to be real.
I was just say, Whisper of the Worm mains are just going to be feasting.
Oh yeah.
Your next excision run is about to be just a symphony of Whispers of the Worm, honestly. Which is not a bad way to spend some time. Also, this is as I was looking through kind of the additional buffs that were going to be added. So with the arrival of Act 2, obviously Solstice will be a part of that. And we'll touch on that a little bit later here in the stream. But with the arrival of Solstice, you guys are also working on a new balance update as well.
The sniper rifle.
Weapons, covers armor, covers abilities. I'm going to go ahead and kick off with perhaps an update that's very near and dear to my heart. As a Dead Man's Tale main, the Tex Scout rifles are getting a pretty solid PvE buff across the board. Is that right?
Yeah. We've seen that the legendary and exotic aggressive scout rifles have been lagging a bit behind in damage output in PvE. So we're bumping that by 30%, which puts them like just ahead of the current leaders for scout rifle damage output.
Yeah.
They're a ton of fun. Like they hit really hard.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Not only because I just like hip firing guys from across the map, but I gotta tell you, I'm looking for any excuse I can to keep dusting off Dead Man's Tale.
Yeah.
Fighting Lion has taken its place recently, but just as a temporary thing. It's okay.
Also, a fun seasonal aggressive scout rifle, which you should keep an eye out for.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I haven't spent as much time with that as I ought to, honestly. I've been mostly hanging out with Lost Signal, speaking of Fighting Lion. But this isn't time for Andy to share his loadouts necessarily.
That's another live stream.
That's another live stream. That's right. Yeah, that's just me tweeting into the void and being like, Fighting Lion.
Those are both such Destiny 2 player emotes right
so shout out to all of them.
We got the Never Gonna Give You Up one,
and favorite of mine as well. Speaking of some of the classics, Ariana's Vow is going to be a pretty sizable buff against barrier shields as well.
Yeah, so we've had a bunch of changes to exotic weapons and how they interact with barrier champions. And Ariana's Vow fell a bit behind, so we've bumped its damage substantially. It's 67%.
Oh,
this means that in most difficulties, it will break barrier champion shields in 2 shots, which makes its ammo economy like much more valuable.
Right.
And it had a pretty big rework recently. This just makes it that much stronger.
Yeah. Always a good time to go ahead and have that.
Buffing Ariana's again. Okay.
We've got some other weapon buffs. Any in particular that you wanted to speak to while we were here? Obviously, all this will arrive on Bungie.net later, but as long as we got you here, I'd love to hear if you got any more on your mind that you'd love to speak to.
Yeah, with the sniper rifle focus in this act, we really wanted to improve their ease of use a bit more in PvE. One of the biggest problems is when you're like trying to land crits on the Witness or something, and you're taking a bunch of damage. You're getting flinched off target a lot. So we've gone in and halved the flinch from PvE enemies.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big one.
Yeah.
I'm also, like, a little bit of foreshadowing, but we've gone in and removed the penalties from adept mods. And this is sort of setting the stage for a larger set of mods that will be dropping in a future release. Not too far out.
Yeah. The proverbial stay tuned for everyone out there as well,
Exactly.
Actually, and also we were talking a bit before the show too, but there's going to be some armor tuning as well, isn't there as well, to like the mods, I believe?
Right, yeah. So if you do a lot of raiding, you're probably familiar with the reserves mod swapping shenanigans that you can do. And this is just sort of fiddly and annoying for players. We don't think it's a balance issue. But it is irritating. We didn't want players to have to do it. So now when you switch your reserves mods back off, it'll bring your total reserves back down to their current cap. And to balance that out, we've increased reserves for special and heavy weapons across the board. It varies per weapon type, but it's in the 10 to 15% range.
Nice, okay.
And in addition to that, if you do like running reserves mods permanently, we've reduced their cost by 1. You'll note that with some of the discounted mods from the artifact,
I don't think I'll ever run reserve mods,
so this will bring it down to 0.
Oh,
That's
really?
cool.
It's a pretty big change.
Very nice. All right.
Much
so build
rather have
crafters, you've all been made aware. Now's a chance to start tweaking those variables in your spreadsheets across the board. Very exciting. Okay. A lot of stuff to dive into still yet, but we've also got a brief, quick preview of some stuff that's going to be arriving with Solstice. Now, I know our fire team is here hard at work in the background, but very briefly, wanted to make sure that as a part of the show, we took a look at the armor sets that are going to be arriving with Solstice. So, as a reminder, Solstice is going to be hitting here with Act 2. Should be a pretty good time for you guys to dive into. We'll have more information soon, but you can take a look here and see kind of the, I don't know, old-timey pilot race car driver. Maybe I'm just channeling my old inner race car driver here.
I can really see the adventurer influence in this, that idea of an explorer who's going and delving into different places.
Yeah.
Also the pants.
I was going to say, with boots like this,
Consider the pants.
Does it have those actual,
like the first time as a hunter, I'm jealous of Warlocks. Congratulations, Warlocks, you did it. Let's see. Up next, we've also got our friendly neighborhood Titan, I believe, with perhaps one of the coolest helmets I have ever seen available.
Yeah, I like that helmet, actually.
Once again, as a hunter, it's a very alien feeling being jealous of Titans, but this is one time I'll go ahead and summon that feeling, honestly. Titans out there, make sure you go ahead and start getting your transmogs ready, but this is one I can't wait to see start running around the tower.
I don't know if I like the colors, but I mean, that's what
pretty solid. And then, last but very not least, my fellow hunters, we also are going to be able to go ahead and feast. We've got another set of ornaments coming our way. Again, really channeling kind of that adventurer style that they're really going for to theme for this solstice in particular. And plus with an expanded sandbox of all the goodies that you folks have been working on to go ahead and have us go ahead and tear through it with. We are very appreciative of it, but yeah, just kind of a quick look at what's to arrive with solstice. But yeah, I mean, honestly, that's kind of the main set of topics for today. We're going to go ahead and scan Twitch chat very briefly to make sure we can go ahead and grab any questions. But Ryan, honestly, we're now into, is this the second battleground?
Yeah, we're in the second battleground on the second encounter right now. So what we didn't see previously was players were, when they finish the first battleground, the second battleground actually starts where the first battleground ends to continue on your journey into the center of Nessus. And that's the same for when you end battleground 2. That's where you start for battleground 3.
Very exciting. That's kind of cool, actually, having that, again, that journey to the center of Nessus. Sort of in that same vein, actually, one thing I've also kind of been wanting to ask selfishly is a wise narrative director once said that stories are told in 3 acts. Could you tell us a little bit about what this episodic structure offers you guys? Like, what are you able to try that's different?
So humans like stories that have shapes, right? When we think of a story where you're kind of like in the same place, like doing the same thing, like sometimes we want to make sure that our stories feel like they have shape and momentum to them. For example, with episode 1, we can think of the shape of it kind of as starting in this place of really like lighthearted, it's a fun romp, it's a fun adventure, and it slowly goes down into a really dark place.
As all the doom happens in the background, we're having fun with failsafe.
We get to play with that play with those shapes and play with that structure with each of our episodes. So in episode 2, in episode 3, it may start at different places and the energy may take you in different ways. We got to really experiment and play around with what are we introducing narratively, which enables us to add things like a focus on Fate 14 for Act 2, or different ways that the battlefields may change as we're going through. Humans like stories that have shape to them, and that's what a really well-defined act structure allows us to do.
It's exciting to see, honestly, as we've just getting started here in Echoes and with episode 2 on the way, but we'll talk more about that at a later date. Worry not. We've got plenty to dive into with Act 2 right in front of us. But as far as my agenda goes, I think actually we've thankfully hit kind of the primary bulk of the show.
Could I touch briefly on the ability stuff?
Please. Thank you, Chris. Yeah,
we've been monitoring feedback in PvP around prismatic hunters, and particularly the 2 pain points around swarm grenades and threaded spectre. So we're bringing both of those down into line. We've also got a couple of PvE changes coming, and this is Titan stuff. It's sort of previewing some Titan changes that are going to come in the future release. But we're bumping up the damage of the supers, Twilight Arsenal, and Hammer of Soul. So this should
I want to hear what's he said.
There's Twilight Arsenal. But we're bumping up the damage of changes that are going to come in a future release. But we're bumping up the previewing 2 pain points in PvP around prismatic hunters. Particularly the 2 pain points around swarm grenades and threaded spectre. So we're bringing both of those down into line.
They're so
also
annoying.
Got a couple of PvE changes coming, and this is Titan stuff. It's sort of previewing some Titan changes that are going to come in a future release. But we're bumping up the damage of the supers, Twilight Arsenal, and Hammer of Soul. So this should be a lot more competitive.
That's right. Hammer of Soul Titans rejoice. Also, I selfishly like grabbing that axe from Twilight Arsenal, so if those could keep existing, I'd be a very happy camper. Also, we got a question from chat. Freeboop asks, probably one for you, Chris. Are you guys still evaluating the interactions of the combo on Edge Transit, or will you swap from Envious Assassin to Cascade Point and a 24 magazine while you still have Cascade Point?
So we mentioned a few weeks back that we're going to be adjusting that.
Are they finally fixing that?
Ended up needing a code change, which is typically a little bit slower to roll out, but that fix is still coming. So
very exciting.
If you missed out on getting that that perk combination, that is not going to be an exploit that continues to work.
Excellent.
Okay.
Fair enough. All right. Thank you, Freeboot, for the question. We appreciate it.
Dang, this battleground looks sick.
Yeah, I think thankfully that as we watch our steadfast group of Guardians go ahead and continue their way here through the battlegrounds, I think that's kind of the high and low of our show, everyone. Of course, we wanted to go ahead and make sure as we dive into the events of Act 2, as we go to prepare to conclude Act 1, we wanted to make sure that all of you had a sense of what was coming. And again, a reminder, this launches next week on July 16th. Quick reminder of the topics we covered. Of course, we're going to go ahead and remind you that the Bungie Foundation folks are doing some amazing work. Go ahead and scan that QR code and check out what they're up to. Otherwise, Act 2 arrives next week. With it, you'll have these 3 new battlegrounds, 2 launching with the first week, the 3rd arriving on the 2nd week, new weapons joining the sandbox, new artifact mods for you to go ahead and unlock, and of course, Solstice will be joining us later on into the act. But otherwise, before we go, I of course want to make sure that we take a chance to go ahead and thank our amazing cast here. Thank you so much for joining us today and telling us about what's to come.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, Andy.
Yeah, appreciate the time. To our amazing team of playtesters in the background, Mitch, Justin, and Peyton, thank you very much for doing the proverbial heavy lifting. To the amazing team here, producers in-house, that go ahead and put this all on, thank you all so much. Honestly, we always appreciate it. And last, but of course not least, to all you Guardians out there, thanks for taking the time to join us today. We'll see you all very soon, but in the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you all Starside.
Pretty interesting. We got new battlegrounds, new weapons. Well, these weapons have been in the files and the API for a while, but that's besides the point. Looking like it might be a pretty good act. Hopefully the story doesn't have as much of a slow start as it did with Act 1. I do like to hear that in Episode 2 they're going to be releasing the story in chunks. I don't know if that includes like any potential unlocks. I hope so. I'm hoping you could just grind out everything in like the first week if you wanted to, like, because I would totally do that. Because that give me more time to do other things too, of course. I mean, I don't mind the weekly structure that much, but like this 3, well, I guess that'll be like 5 weeks of waiting. I don't know how many weeks of echoes it is. I think it's 6, but yeah. Let's hope that things continue to improve. Bungie at least has been communicating a lot lately. They've been doing these dev streams, which is amazing. I love that so much. It feels like they're less corporate than they were for almost the entire year of Lightfall until the end. So it's awesome. I love to see it. I have hope for the future of Destiny. I've really enjoyed Final Shape. Act 1 is kind of mid so far, but it's got some good weapons. It's got the activities I think are fun. I don't really like the actual like main seasonal activity, but I do like the race against the timer one, and there's something else. Maybe there wasn't. Maybe it's just the race against the timer. But and I think apparently we have a pretty big exotic mission coming in Act 3 as well. We'll have to see what that's all about. But yeah, so thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll be back with ZZZ probably in a little while. I think I might take a short nap. I woke up earlier than I wanted to because my blood sugar was low. So I'm still kind of really tired. Didn't go to bed until like 8 a.m. last night. So probably take a little bit of a nap, and then I'll come back and probably do ZZZ until I am about ready to go to bed or something. So yeah, I will